Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this presentation on the LEED Safety First Cleaning and Disinfecting Your Space pilot credit. This presentation will address the green approach to COVID-19. Whether you are a distributor, whether you are a service provider, whether you're an end user, a school, university, commercial real estate, healthcare, or other, I believe this presentation could be very helpful to you. And again, thank you for spending some time with us. And I also want to specifically thank the folks at Solaris Paper. There's no way we could bring this valuable information to you without companies like their support. So thank you, Solaris. So with that, let's jump right into the presentation. So I'm Steve Ashkin, president of the Ashkin Group and CEO of Green to Sustainable, which is a consulting and software company working to bring sustainability to the cleaning industry. From the slide, you see that I have a deep amount of technical expertise in the cleaning industry, having worked in the industry for over 40 years. I actually grew up in the industry. My family had a manufacturing business of cleaning products. So I have been sweeping the floor in the lab since I was literally 7 years old. But beyond that, I've actually formulated disinfectants. I worked on EPA's green disinfectant work group. I have done standard development for the likes of Green Seal, Safer Choice, Ecologo UL, and many others. So from a technical perspective, I want to really share information that is really helpful to you to really address COVID-19. Also, over the last period of time, I've worked with a lot of leading organizations, such as the U.S. Green Building Council, where I'm actually a founding member of the council back in 1993 and having served on their national board of directors. And candidly, I'm the person literally that drafted the cleaning credits in LEED, and I wrote the draft of the new cleaning credit, the pilot credit that we'll be discussing today. So candidly, I think I have some insights that I'd like to share with you about the intent of the credit and how you can use it most successfully. I also want to say that I have the pleasure of serving on a number of school boards, national NGOs for school organizations, as well as with the Green Sports Alliance. And I have to say, I love sports. I think it's a great example of elite performance. And throughout this presentation, I'm going to share some sports metaphors with you. So I hope you'll be patient with me. But I also want to share with you, beyond my technical and industry background, I care about these issues. The picture that you see on the screen now, that's Carrie, the love of my life. Carrie is a cancer patient and a few years ago went through chemotherapy. And so candidly, the reason that I'm bald now is a reminder of the environmental threats that really can harm our health. So I take this issue very personally, and I don't want you to think that I'm suggesting that the cleaning industry is contributing to the growth of cancer rates in the United States. But what I am suggesting is that cleaning, if done correctly, can actually reduce exposures that can harm our health. And again, I'm bald as a reminder that our work is important and we really are saving lives. So today's agenda is as follows. I want to begin with some brief definitions. I know for many of you, you're very familiar with green cleaning and these issues, but for those of you who are new, I think you'll find these very interesting and at least foundationally important to the discussion. So for those of you who are experienced, who probably could even do this presentation, please be patient while we help everyone catch up a little bit. I then want to introduce the U.S. Green Building Council and their LEED rating system, again for the same reason, to make sure everyone really does understand what these organizations and what LEED really is all about. We'll get into the details of the LEED pilot credit, and then I'll finish up the presentation with some closing thoughts, forgive me, on this issue and what I hope you'll really take away from the presentation. So definitions. The first thing that we want to really make sure we're in agreement on is the definition of green. And this not only comes from the book Green Cleaning for Dummies that I wrote with David Hawley a number of years ago, but from a presidential executive order that basically defines what green is. And as you can see from the screen, it's defined as products or services that have a lesser or reduced effect on human health and the environment when compared with competing products or services that serve the same purpose. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to quickly say about this definition. And first is, you notice it talks about human health and the environment. So this green cleaning or green environmentally preferable purchasing, all these issues is not just about protecting the environment. It also is about protecting human health. And if you notice, it addresses human health before it talks about environmental impacts. So if anyone tells you green cleaning is only about environmental impacts, please tell them that is simply untrue. We recognize that the major species we're really concerned about is the human species. This is about protecting human health first and foremost. The other issue is the word compared. We're not suggesting that paper products made of virgin fiber is bad or chemicals are bad. This is not about bad or good, one or the other. This is a comparison because we simply recognize the innovation that has taken place in our industry and that we can have cost-effective and effective performing products that also reduce impacts on health and the environment. So this is a comparison. The industry has done great things and we continue to do even better things. The next definition is the word green cleaning. And we want to define it simply as effective cleaning that has a less or reduced effect on human health and the environment when compared with competing products or services that serve the same purpose. And again, we've just applied the definition of green to cleaning and want to simply emphasize that we understand it is about effective cleaning, right? It doesn't matter how green the products are if we're doing a poor job cleaning. We have to clean effectively, and we understand that. And perhaps to make the definition of green cleaning even simpler, we could define it as cleaning to protect health without harming the environment. And I'm sure you can see the connection between this definition and the definition of green. So with that, let's also talk a little bit about the U.S. Green Building Council and their LEED rating system. First of all, the U.S. Green Building Council, USGBC, is not a federal agency. Rather, it is a membership organization, and many companies within our industry, many of our customers are all members of the U.S. Green Building Council. And if you are, thank you very much. It is a great organization. And their passion and commitment is to find ways to build and operate greener buildings, buildings that reduce impacts on health and the environment, encourage performance, occupant productivity, and those kind of things. They really are trying to make buildings better. What's also important about the USGBC is that they have over 50 local chapters, and I personally want to encourage you to be active in a local chapter. Not only will you learn a lot from the other people participating, from a sales perspective, it's a great place to prospect, where you can be helpful from a cleaning perspective. And beyond that, I want to encourage you to try to really be involved. Be on committees. We've had a number of our industry members actually raise to board positions and even chairman of local chapters. You can be involved. They need your help, and they need to understand the value and importance of cleaning. So I really want to encourage you not just to show up to the meetings, but to get involved, be active, and be a leader. LEED. Couple quick things about LEED. First, it is an acronym for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, LEED. The reason I point this out is, for those of you who are new, it is LEED. Do not call it LEEDs. It is not plural. It is LEED. And if you ever go and you're selling to someone and you call it LEEDs, they'll immediately know that you don't really know what you're talking about. It is the LEED rating system. And what LEED is, it's a product, frankly, that's sold by the U.S. Green Building Council. It is a rating system, and buildings get certified to meeting the requirements of the rating system. And within this rating system, there's multiple levels, certified or green, silver, gold, and platinum. And the higher the rating, you get more points. And cleaning definitely contributes to the success of the rating system. So we have a lot to offer within that rating system. And ultimately, LEED has become the de facto national standard for defining a green building. They are the 800-pound gorilla in the marketplace. They have well over 100,000 certified buildings, and many organizations may just have one building that's certified, but they own lots of other buildings or operate lots of other buildings, so that these, especially the cleaning credits, are being driven by LEED across a large number of buildings in the US and around the globe. All right, now with that, let's start jumping into some of the specifics about the new pilot credit. It's actually called Safety First, Cleaning and Disinfecting Your Space. For all the details in here, I would simply encourage you to Google this, Safety First, Cleaning and Disinfecting Your Space. It'll pull up the right credit, and it will give you all the detailed information that we're about to discuss. In this pilot credit, there's 5 different sections, and I'm going to spend a few minutes going through each one of those to be helpful to you. Before we do that, however, just a few background notes. This is how we developed the credit. Number one, we made sure that it met the requirements from CDC, EPA, OSHA, the World Health Organization, because we felt it was incredibly important to follow the guidelines of these authoritative bodies, whether it's just because they are the real scientists behind this, or from a liability perspective, we wanted to make sure we were at a minimum doing the right things. The second issue was whether or not we did all the right things. We had to make sure we weren't putting our frontline cleaning personnel at risk, right? I know we want to protect occupant health, but it just is not okay for us to do so and expose our workers to unnecessary harm. So we wanted to make sure we took the time to make sure we address protecting the health of our cleaning personnel. And then the third part of it was, not only did we want to follow the guidelines, protect our workers' health, but we had to provide effective cleaning and disinfecting, and to really think through all the things that our cleaning personnel are really working on to make sure that we're delivering a healthy building for all of the occupants. So those were the 3 things that we prioritized to make sure that this pilot credit really did meet the needs of all the buildings using it. So with that, here we go. The first section in the new pilot credit is on product selection. Let's begin with disinfectants, and it simply recognizes that they have to be on EPA's list N. Today, there's over 500 disinfectants of all kinds, concentrates ready to use, all different actives, all different dwell times, lots of different disinfectants that are available. And we do really encourage you to try to find a disinfectant that's on list N. The second part of it that is in this pilot credit is to encourage the use of those disinfectants that EPA's Design for the Environment identified as being safer active ingredients. And those include things like based on hydrogen peroxide or citric acid or ethanol, these types of actives. So again, you can go on, you can Google EPA's List N, you can Google EPA's Design for the Environment disinfectant program and get all of that information, and you can sort through it. But we really want to encourage the purchasing of greener products. But beyond just the purchase of disinfectants, the new pilot credit uses the existing language in LEED for all the other products that you're going to use. So it addresses all the other cleaning chemicals, glass cleaners, all-purpose cleaners, carpet cleaners that are typically certified by the likes of Green Seal or Safer Choice or Ecologo UL. So we want to continue doing that. But beyond the chemicals, it addresses things like paper products. For example, we wanted to include the use of things like rapidly renewable fibers and products of agricultural waste, in addition to paper that uses post-consumer recycled content. And the reason that the USGBC decided to do that was because, one, they did not want to artificially or unintentionally create barriers to innovation. Right, so if we simply said a green paper product just has recycled content, and the more recycled content, the better, well, all the other efforts within the forestry industry, within the paper making industry would have inadvertently been stopped. So they intentionally included things like rapidly renewable fibers and ag waste products. They were also concerned about what's happening globally with the demand for paper products. We know as developing countries like China become more affluent, the demand for toilet tissue and paper hand towels is skyrocketing. Also because of everything that's going on with recycled products, the increasing demand for both the recycled content with demand for the products, we were concerned that we needed to increase multiple different ways for companies to be able, and I'm talking about projects, building projects going for LEED, to be able to meet the requirement of this credit. So that is why we included additional options for paper products, including rapidly renewable fibers and ag waste. But beyond just the chemicals and the paper, there's also requirements for plastic liners with recycled content. There's requirements for the powered equipment like vacuum cleaners to make sure we're using high-performing, capture systems, entryway mats, and you name it. So this is a great place to find a comprehensive roadmap on all the products that you will need for a green cleaning program in light of COVID-19. The next part of this credit talks about procedures on disinfecting. And there's three quick things I want to address in this section. Obviously, they have to meet CDC's guidance on cleaning and disinfecting. And both CDC and EPA have recommendations. Again, you can Google them, but we wanted to make sure that we're cleaning and disinfecting appropriately. We're using the right dwell times. We're pre-cleaning when necessary. We're doing all the right things that's required by EPA and others while we're simply disinfecting those surfaces. But beyond just the basic procedures, we wanted to make sure we're thinking seriously about identifying high-touch surfaces and how frequently those surfaces are cleaned and disinfected. Typically, what CDC does is they just list a number of objects that are high touch points, like light switches and doorknobs and handles and what have you. And the point that I want to make with all of you today is that just because something's a light switch does not make it a high touch surface. Think about it. A light switch in an office that's never used is not a high touch surface. A light switch in an area that is used once a day by the same person is not a high touch surface. We need to just understand, and this is pretty simple, and I'm sure you all get it, that we need to identify what those objects are that are not only touched frequently throughout the day, but are touched frequently by multiple people throughout the day. And it's behoovent on us to help make sure that we have a good game plan, that we've identified those things, and not just leaving it up to some vague language about high touch points, or leaving it up to the individual frontline worker to make the decision themselves what constitutes a high touch point. So this issue is very important, and I really want to encourage those of you in a leadership position to make sure you're clearly identifying what those points are. And then the third part of this part of the pilot credit is on quantitative testing for cleanliness. I think, candidly, one of the takeaways we're going to have as an industry from our experience with COVID-19 is how important it is for us to do quantitative, objective testing of cleanliness. And this is not just a punitive issue, or excuse me, this is not a punitive issue. We're not trying to criticize our workers for not cleaning thoroughly. We believe that they're doing a good job, but we do need to identify it, and we do need to use this testing to identify that we are cleaning and disinfecting the right high touch points. We're doing it at the right frequencies, and we're doing it at the right times throughout the day. So these technologies can be extremely helpful to make sure we're doing the right things at the right times and the right frequencies. Again, let's focus on the things that matter most, because not only do we not want to waste chemicals or waste paper, we also don't want to waste labor, right? Labor is the most valuable commodity we have in the cleaning industry, and we want to make sure we're focusing it appropriately to get the best outcomes for the occupants of our building. The third part of this pilot credit is to make sure we're protecting cleaning personnel's health. And there's two components of this. The first is the proper use of personal protective equipment. And one of the things I personally want to appeal to all of you is, let's make sure our cleaning personnel, our frontline workers, not only are protected on the job, but let's educate them and help them protect themselves when they're traveling to and from work and while they're at home. Let's help them. They're important to us, and we need to properly educate and support them about how to really protect their health. The other part about this credit is, beyond just wearing PPE and protecting themselves from chemicals and all these other things, they know how to read the label, they know how to read a safety data sheet. We recognize in the cleaning industry that the #1 cause of accident, injury, and missed work days for cleaning personnel is actually ergonomic related. Back aches, knee injuries, twisting and turning, shoulder injuries, repetitive motion industries. And so this part of the credit gives us an opportunity to really make sure we're thinking about the actual work that they're doing, the tools that they're using, if they're using backpack vacuums or backpack sprayers, that they're adjusting harnesses correctly, because this is an important way for us to protect our workers. And let's face it, if their back is hurting and they have to vacuum all day, either it's going to slow them down or it's going to make them less efficient, less effective, or both. So we really do need to think about how we're protecting their work. And as you can see in the picture that I've included here, this person is bending over, cleaning that toilet. If they're doing this all day long, this is going to inevitably lead to higher risk of injury to these workers. So let's make sure they have the right personal protective equipment and that we're addressing ergonomic issues. So once we've selected the products, we have identified what procedures we want to use, we're protecting our workers. Once we have those basics in place, then we have to train the workers on what we want to do. Worker training is incredibly important. And you see that we want to make sure they understand the proper use of disinfectants. We also want to make sure, again, the personal protective equipment, but also in this credit, they're addressing some basic training for frontline workers on infection control and cleaning. They have to make sure they actually know what to do. So when they have to make decisions on what gets cleaned and how to do it, they will make the best decisions properly. So in this credit, they've identified 3 training programs that I want to encourage all of you to take a look at. The Thomas Shortman Fund and Building Skills Partnerships are the training funds for SEIU, the Janitors Labor Union, and the Building Service Contractors Association provides training that can also be used for obviously non-unionized workers. These trainings address a number of issues, not only specific to COVID-19, but also addressing other issues that will really help those people doing the actual cleaning and disinfecting to be as effective as possible to protect their health and to get the outcomes ultimately that all of us want. The final part of this credit has to do with occupant education. There's a very real issue that people returning to their offices, returning to their job sites, are concerned about if something could happen to their health. So one of the things that as a cleaning industry we have to do is to make sure we're communicating with the occupants to help them set aside their fears and to know what's going on in the building, to know that we're properly cleaning and disinfecting to protect their health. And on the screen, you see a few examples of ideas that you can use to meet this credit. The one on the far right is a simple checklist. We all often use them in restrooms on the back of the door. So a worker will go in, they'll date it, they'll mark the time of the day they last cleaned the bathroom, and just initial it, just so we know that the bathroom is being cleaned at a regular frequency. And this concept, while it's been used in restrooms for a long period of time, can be expanded to other areas like conference rooms or break rooms or other places where multiple people congregate throughout the day, to just let them know that, yes, in fact, we have cleaned and disinfected their space. You see the door hanger in the middle that we see in hotels, and we can borrow these examples to hang on doors to just let occupants know, yes, indeed, we have cleaned and disinfected their space. Or other examples from hotels is, I'm sure you've seen the little cars that go in the bathrooms or on the beds about washing towels or linens. We can do the same thing in our buildings, whether it's a little card that can be left on someone's desk or a little sticky note that says, yes, indeed, we have cleaned and disinfected your space. And they know who to call, and they just know, it gives them more confidence that we really have done our work. And of course, you see the tank card that has been as an example as well. Imagine putting them in the cafeteria or on break room tables or again on conference room tables as a simple reminder that we in fact have done the job to protect their health. And an additional option is also using digital display, digital signage. I mentioned that I have the pleasure of serving on the board of the Green Sports Alliance and have worked with sports facilities all across the globe on how they're reopening for COVID-19. And when you have such a massive building, the challenge that they have putting up paper posters, not only just the printing, but the labor to go and put them all up. And when something changes, right, because CDC is changing the recommendations as we learn more about face coverings and social distancing and all these things, we want to make sure that not only they take down the old posters, but they're putting up new ones. And digital displays handle all of that seamlessly so that they can put up good information from CDC, from your organization, that can reaffirm what's going on in your building, can provide guidance to the occupants about what they should do, can help them understand changes that are taking place in real time, and frankly can also encourage them and inspire them about work that your organization's doing. So I clearly believe that these new digital signage, especially for those of you that have large buildings or have campuses, could be enormously valuable. And again, I think that's going to be the future. But these are all ways of meeting the requirements of the pilot credit. And finally, these are the things that just from a documentation perspective, you'll have to provide to meet the requirements. So you just have to describe what the green cleaning approach is, the timeline, what you put in place, and have a green cleaning policy. And again, this is for the building. So if you're a contractor, if you are a distributor, if you are a product manufacturer, you can draft the you can draft the policy, make it easy for your customers to be able to meet this requirement, but help them have a good plan and a good approach to doing this, following what's outlined in this pilot credit. You're obviously going to have to list all the cleaning products and materials, describe the training programs, describe the surface testing process that you went through, and of course, finally, address what you've done from an occupant education perspective. So with that, I want to finish up with some closing general thoughts to share with all of you. And the first one is build a comprehensive game plan. This credit is incredibly valuable to make sure you're dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. So this is a great roadmap, a great game plan, but like in any game plan, you have to make sure that everyone on the team understands exactly the role that they're going to play, what's expected of them, how to best execute. But use this credit as that roadmap, as that game plan. Second, we know that our current stockpile of disinfectants are highly effective against the SARS-CoV-2 virus, the virus that causes COVID-19. They're highly effective, but only if used correctly. And so we need to execute. We know the products work. The real question is, are we going to do it correctly? Are we going to follow the right dwell times? Are we going to dilute the disinfectants, the concentrates correctly? Are we going to pre-clean when necessary? Are we going to execute properly and execute properly every play, right? It's not just doing it right once. Every play, every day, we just have to have the discipline and commitment to make sure we're doing things right. If we do that, the cleaning industry really can contribute to the reopening of our economy, and frankly, more importantly, to protecting the health of the occupants of our building. Also, COVID-19 is going to be behind us in a number of months. And so as an industry, we should think ahead about what we want to learn from this, and more importantly, what we want our customers to learn. And for those of you who are facility managers, working in schools, working commercial real estate, who are using our services, to really think about how do we build a winning culture. This is a picture of Coach John Wooden from UCLA. The number of championships they won, the winning attitude, the culture that they built is a model for the culture we want to build in our own buildings. And one of the things we understand is it's not just about what the cleaning people have to do. To create a culture of hygiene, we need to engage the occupants. The occupants have to understand the important role that they play. For example, just putting their trash can outside the door of their office and locking the door, or giving, the janitors the wave by so they don't have to clean the office, is not good enough. we have to get in there and clean. And if the occupants have messy offices with boxes and files and papers all over the floors and on every every horizontal surface in the office, so we can't clean, we can't vacuum, we can't dust. As facility managers, as those responsible for the buildings, we need to get our occupants to understand that we have to clean their offices as well, because they're all connected through the same HVAC system. So whatever's in their office will be spread throughout the buildings. So together we have to work at creating a healthy environment. And let's really think about how everyone can be engaged with us. And let's think about what we want people to learn about hand washing. And it's not just the 20 seconds, but to wash thoroughly their hands. What is it that we want people to know? This is what we need to think about for once COVID-19 is over. We don't want to just go back to the way things were before. We want to be better. I also want you to understand that what you do matters. Whether you're the owner, whether you're the new employee, whether you're the coach, whether you're a player, whether you're a manager, whether you're a worker, in the end, we're all role players. Whether you're the water boy or the star quarterback, we all have important things to contribute to the success of our programs. And understand that your decisions and what you do really matters. Every purchasing decision you make sends a clear signal to the marketplace about what's important. So I really want to encourage you, obviously, to buy products that are effective, to buy products that are cost competitive. But in the industry, there's so many opportunities and options. Please select the ones that are greener. Please ask your suppliers about what they're doing to become more sustainable. And frankly, this isn't just a professional commercial cleaning industry. When you're buying products for your homes, please think about these issues. Again, you are sending a clear message to the marketplace about what's important. Let your spend, let your dollars really make a difference. And finally, please take care of yourself. You know, no athlete would go out to the court without stretching and warming up. Professional athletes understand how important their health is. This is important for us as well. Please understand this is an incredibly stressful time. Make sure you're taking that extra breath and not just reacting. Get sleep. Make sure you're eating well, that you're not drinking too much or doing other things that can harm or affect your health. Please take care of yourself, and also understand that your coworkers, your customers may also be struggling and being challenged right now. Be thoughtful and considerate, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together, and we can all do better by helping and uplifting each other. Please take care of yourself. And with that, let me thank you for your time today. I hope you found this helpful. And again, I want to thank the folks from Solaris Paper who made it possible for me to bring this information to you. Thank you and have a great day.